Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was sent to a new world by Shinigami and surrounded by beautiful goddesses, part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanatic. Sasuke was cornered. He had planned it through. He had gone alone so that he could sneak in safely, but they had been waiting for him. Clutching his sacred sword Kusanagi in his right hand, he faced 3 of the most dangerous shinobis in the world. Okay. Maybe not the girl. Haruno Sakura was not a threat even in his weakened state. If not for Uzumaki Naruto and Hatake Kakashi protecting her every cognizant second, he could have already killed her 10 times. He was worrying about Naruto and Kakashi. They were top class. After 3 years of hiding, he hadn't expected to meet up with these 2-3 levels stronger than before. Naruto could now control the massive Kyuubi chakra in him. That truth had smacked him with dread the very moment he realized it. And Kakashi. His level of expertise in using his fate-given Sharingan had become as if he was an Uchiha by blood. He had wounded Naruto fatally in the chest. He was sure it could have killed him, but the wound had regenerated in seconds without the aid of any medical technique. The Kyuubi was the reason for it, he was sure. If he couldn't manage to cut Naruto's head off, he would not be able to defeat him. The wind ruffled his raven hair as the falls behind him stirred it into motion. He had nowhere to escape to. The loud roar of the waters falling from the Konoha River into a depth no one would dare to measure hammered the realization of finality in his mind. It was now or never. Fight or get killed. With the attack he had been receiving, he had a vague idea that they were not planning to kill him. But it was not enough reason to put down his sword and accept their unsung plead for him to give up. His hatred was stronger, but the uncertainty his heart was pumping into his blood was becoming palpable by the minute. He was in a dire situation. That he would not deny. Naruto had fixed him with his determined, piercing blue eyes. A feather of exhaustion was apparent in his breath. It's dead end, Sasuke. Please, lower your weapon. We are only here to bring you back, he said. Sasuke smirked. Pathetic words. You've chased me all over the place just to say that. No wonder you lot couldn't catch me. 3 of you to boot. Sasuke, we are not your enemy. We are your friends. True friends. Come back to us. Please. With an expression of gloating and anger mixed like coffee and cream on his face, he yelled, "Kill me, then. Kill me and you can bring me back." It's no use talking to that criminal, Naruto, Sakura said. Naruto frowned at her in disbelief. What? Accept it. It's useless. I have long given up on him. He's already just a trash. Don't talk of him like that. You of all people. You who is the reason I'm doing this. Quit the melodrama, assholes, Sasuke said. Bits of pebbles gave in under his feet and fell into the deep abyss beneath the precipice. Get serious. Come on. He put back his sword into its scabbard and assumed a samurai stance of pull and kill, a completely defensive stance, but terribly lethal in its simplicity. Sakura just stared at Naruto, wishing to herself that he would see why she had said those words. She was indirectly telling him that he was more important, now, more precious than the vagrant and hating Uchiha. She had come to realize that Naruto had only been uselessly pursuing a man already devoid of humanity, a goal that could kill him sooner or later. Sasuke could kill now as easily as swatting a fly. Kakashi just stood, alert, shifting his gaze between Sasuke and his 2 subordinates. Then let me show you, Sakura finally said. She glared at Sasuke with every frustration and anger the years of thinking about him had accumulated in her heart. Let me show you how low he has gotten. In an instant she disappeared from sight and reappeared only a few meters away from Sasuke. Naruto and Kakashi were gripped by a throat-drying fear at the imminent contact of the 2, the girl who had loved the boy and the boy whom she had loved. Sasuke smiled evilly and gripped the hilt of Kusanagi more tightly. He concentrated all the strength left in him to his right arm. The power was building and he could feel it. The slash would cut Sakura in two. Before he realized it, Naruto was already on the run. He was faster than Sakura. He could make it in time before the collision. He just knew. One of the two would die if he just stood and watched. Stop it, Sakura. You're no match against him. Sasuke shifted his center of gravity to his left foot and brought it up slowly. He could feel every muscle in his body passing over the force towards his right arm. Sakura was fast approaching, but to his eyes she was ridiculously slow. He could even see the particles of dust suspended in air like in a painting. The taste of blood started to conjure itself up in his tongue, an illusion he welcomed with excitement. Sakura. It was Naruto, running desperately to catch up to Sakura. But he was too late. Sakura her right fist and pulled it towards Sasuke's face. Sasuke grinned and pulled his sword. The blade of the Kusanagi slid smoothly out of its encasing and slashed the air. A split second more and it would hit its aim. Frame by frame of time. Frame by frame. Which would be the first one to hit, Sakura's mighty punch or Sasuke's deadly slash? When the two attacks, solid, cold, and ruthless, were only a hairline away from landing, the ground beneath Sasuke gave in. The Kusanagi missed its chance. However, the punch did not. It pierced the distance and hit Sasuke in the face. A flash of orange coming past beside her startled Sakura. The orange dived into the depth as she watched over her stretched arm. Her eyes followed the plummeting color down its path to the impending obscurity. Of course, it was Naruto. Naruto, she bellowed. Kakashi was immediately beside her. A flurry of hand seals and he got a long chain. He threw it down. Catch it, Naruto, Kakashi ordered. Please, please, reach him, Sakura prayed, unconsciously. Naruto plunged like an arrow slicing the air. He could feel the vapor and drops of water from the falls, which looked like a giant feather duster against his stomach. He felt like he had just dived into a river rather than towards a dark abyss quite visible now below. Drops of water clung on his face and his clothes was getting more drenched as the seconds ticked automatically in his head as if there was an actual clock in there. He stretched out his arm to grab Sasuke with utmost difficulty. He noticed the chain Kakashi had thrown dangling an inch from his body. He summoned shadow clones. The first grabbed the chain. Another grabbed the first one's free hand. A third grabbed the second's free hand. It went on until Naruto managed to grab Sasuke's bloody robe. He threw his free hand up and the 12th clone caught it. The impact of the raging falls was enough to sway the chain and the persons holding onto it for dear life. Don't let go, Naruto. Sakura screamed in a big voice, unwomanly but she didn't care. Naruto was down 100 to 150 meters from the precipice. The powerful sound of the falls ate up her voice and she thought for an instant that it hadn't reached Naruto. But he shouted back. Pull us up. Hang on, Kakashi said. He began to pull at the chain. I'll never let go of you, Naruto said to Sasuke. Sasuke smiled. Oh, you will. He touched Naruto's stomach with the tip of Kusanagi. You won't do that, Sasuke, Naruto told him with a tone full of disbelief and fake confidence. He was uncertain. Sasuke could not miss that. You yourself are not sure. Sasuke erased the smile on his face and pushed the blade through Naruto. The Kusanagi cleanly went through Naruto's back. Sasuke, in sheer brutality, twisted the sword to tell Naruto that he was already ending everything between them, the friendship, the bond, the brotherly love. It was all useless now as they were about to die and be born again not knowing who they had been in the past. Naruto stared at him with utter bewilderment, but there was still a glint of hope in his eyes that irritated him. Naruto opened his mouth to speak. Blood splashed on Sasuke's face. His cold charcoal black eyes became a notch frightening against the crimson liquid that completely covered his face. I'm sorry I can't save you, Naruto muttered. Then he did something Sasuke was not expecting. He smiled. You can still save yourself. With that he closed his eyes. The clones turned into smoke. Gravity pulled at them again. They began to fall. Naruto. Sakura shrieked. Shit. Kakashi hissed. It came back. That warm feeling he had felt when his brother smiled at him with hope instead of disgust the night of the Uchiha massacre. It all came back like a hammer blow. Naruto brought it back and he felt his heart opening up to do something he hadn't done for 8 years. He cried. Now he was regretting it. What he had done. Sasuke refused to hold onto the chain that would save him from the bottomless darkness below. It was finished anyway. What was waiting for him up there on that solid ground was a life of eternal confinement, condemnation, and mockery. Or death. He believed they would shame him in public before they thrust the cold blade of spear into his throat. He had killed Naruto, a hero, and that was all that would matter. His previous crimes would shrink into the size of an ant or more, into oblivion. They would not care if he had ransacked an entire village and killed children and old folks. They would not see that. He had killed Naruto and they would kill him because of that. Only that. So, he closed his eyes. Finally, he could rest. It was finished. He dropped his sword and it plummeted ahead of him. It was a very long fall. Sakura stood up. No, 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 no. She said as if it was a chant. Naruto. She called out amidst the roaring falls. Naruto. Go and request for a search and rescue team, Kakashi said with anxious eyes. I'll go down and look for him. Sakura wasn't listening, so he had to shake her shoulders. Listen to me. We don't know if Naruto is already dead. Sakura tentatively nodded. Don't worry. I'm sure he'll not die that easily. Go. When Sakura began rushing for Konoha, Kakashi summoned 7 ninja dogs led by a pug named Paku. Listen up. Naruto fell down. We will spread once we get at the bottom, he said. There was an honest expression of shock on Paku's virtually impassive countenance. Naruto fell. There is no time to explain to you, guys. Time is precious. Crucially precious this time. Let's move out. Sakura was not thinking of anything but reaching Tsunade's office. The trees went past her peripheral and major field of vision like crude lines of crayon on parchment, but it didn't matter to her. She even wished the trees would burn and turn into ash, and she would shovel the ash up and tossed it down to the falls. The falls. Naruto had fallen towards the bottom, the mouth of Hades as it was locally known. The fear that she had dismissed temporarily, pushing it with her will into the farthest corner of her mind, began to creep up again. She shook her head. What was she thinking at a time like this? She should be focusing on the solution at hand. That was to reach the office of the Hokage and report what had happened right off the bat. She should hurry. When a tree blocked her way, she punched it into shards of debris. She didn't care right now if an environmentalist group protested against the act. The tree would grow anyhow as long as the root was still in the soil. But Naruto wouldn't live if his body was found dead. Time was the enemy. Now that she thought about it, the falls, it was called Sky's Descent, was more than 4 kilometers high. She didn't know if somewhere in the world a falls that higher than that existed. But what concerned her was not the height's rarity, but the height itself. Could a human survive after falling that high even though the bottom was made of water? In addition, the falls was gigantic. Imagine the weight of the force it had. Someone too unfortunate to fall would surely die. Even Naruto. The realization stung her eyes. Was there still a chance that Naruto had survived the fall? Once Master Tsunade had taken her on a trip to get a wild medicinal herb growing from a rich patch of earth midway of the falls. Looking around at that place, she had seen how the rocks jutted like sharks' teeth along the steep face of the cliff. Naruto getting caught on one came into her mind. The image of red flesh splattering around, minced into tiny bits, the image of blood suspended in air, those almost made her faint. Her breathing was caught by a knot in her throat. For 2 seconds, she couldn't breathe. Oh my God. Please spare him. I'm prepared if he becomes a vegetable, just don't let him die. Please, God. Her praying to Kami, God, was rare for her to do. She only did it when fear of immeasurable degree appeared before her, laughing at her. Today was the day she had her most frightened state. The gate of Konoha appeared in the distance. At last, she could feel a thread of relief. The thorn of fear was pulled out a millimeter from her back. She landed on the ground, looked around, dismissed the thought of telling the Jonin guard to make the request while she went back to help Kakashi, and went on herself. She jumped onto the rooftop of the first house she saw, splintering the shingle directly beneath her foot and prying off the shingles around it with the impact of her landing. She ran towards the administration building like her life depended on it. She reached the building in less than a minute. Master Tsunade. Master Tsunade, she said as she entered the 5th Hokage's office. The pretty lady with long blonde hair sitting behind the desk started at her voice. The pretty lady was the 5th Hokage. Actually, she was old, in her 60s already, but she used a regeneration technique that made her look like as she had been when she was in her 20s. Also, that technique reverted not only her skin's youth but her bodily functions as well. Her heart, kidneys, liver, pancreas, everything in her body regressed in age and worked like new. In that state, she was actually a young woman. Only that the technique spent a large amount of her chakras so she couldn't fight in her fullest when she was at it. Sakura. What happened? Tsunade said. Naruto fell into the mouth of Hades. Please, a rescue team, please. She was terribly exhausted and her breathing was getting thin. Please. Tsunade was frowning. She stood up and went to fetch a glass of water for Sakura from the back of the office. She helped Sakura drink from the glass. Take a deep breath. Okay, that's it, okay. Now, tell me again. Slowly. Master Tsunade, we had been chasing Sasuke. We cornered him at the sky's descent. I attacked him, but the ground beneath him collapsed and he fell. Naruto dived after him and caught him, but Sasuke suddenly stabbed Naruto and they fell together. Master Kakashi stayed to look for their bodies. He believed that Naruto still lives. She whimpered. Could that be true? Could Naruto survive that fall? Tsunade began to move like she had been hypnotized, whispered too, and with a flick of the fingers obeyed. She left Sakura standing there and went to her assistant's office. Shizune. Shizune. Her voice thundered in the hallway. 2 Jonins flinched and shrank away when she marched past them. Shizune. Where the hell are you? A cute girl with short, black hair got out from the filing room, carrying papers in her arms. She was Shizune. What's the matter? I was rewriting these files in here. Go and call for the Hyuga and the Inuzuka search and rescue teams. Naruto is in grave danger. Now, go. At the mention of Naruto's name, Shizune dropped the papers and they scattered all over the floor. She ran into the message room. Kakashi and his dogs fought their way down the steep cliff of the falls. They were rushing so it was difficult to avoid getting wounds here and there, especially that the cliff was strewn with families of sharp rocks. Kakashi accidentally stepped on a loose ledge. The ledge collapsed and Kakashi slid. A rock no more than the size of an opened hand cut his back. Kakashi. Paku called out. I'm okay. I'm okay. Carry on. Paku didn't listen and approached him. What's okay? You have a huge wound. Let me wrap it up, at least. Once finished, they continued on their descent. 48 minutes had passed before they reached the bottom. One word. Scary. Even for a Jonin like him, the place was like hell itself. Because of the eternal crashing of water from the river at a height of more than 4,000 meters, the surrounding was always too misty to see a thing 5 meters from you. Without the mist it was a thick forest, undisturbed and thriving. Trees with thick trunks with branches growing in every direction possible comprised the majority of the area. Sunlight was scant if not none at all, so the trees fight over dominance to survive, making them 10 times larger than ordinary. Coupled with impossibly fertile soil, even calamities couldn't stop their growth. The feet of the falls could easily have the width of a large knoll or a temple. It was huge. So huge for Kakashi that his belief that Naruto could have survived the fall waned a little. Also, there was the matter of the protruding boulders as large as houses around the falls, feet. Because of the impact, they had been forced out the ground, and the thousands of years of their existence had made their tips as sharp as blades as stray drops of water continued to hit and hone them every day. Beyond the group of boulders was a wide stream as black as pitch. That word again. Scary. Back at the feet of the falls. The basin that was directly beneath the feet was called the mouth of Hades. From the name alone, it was already obvious that the basin was of mysterious existence. The basin was deep enough to hide the whole falls under it. Monks believed that it was the actual gateway to hell. Priests believed that creatures with indescribable appearances lived in there. He hoped that Naruto had not fallen into that basin. From that height, it was possible that the direction of his fall had changed. It was better if he had fallen to the ground than to the water. The Kyuubi's chakra would regenerate him anyway. He pulled his forehead protector to uncover his Sharingan and began his search. 8 minutes had already passed. Tsunade was standing at the center of her office, her foot tapping the floor with impatience. Every 10 seconds, a crispy curse would go out her mouth. She would shot a glare at the door and curse again. 10 seconds. A new curse under her breath. A glare at the door. She was just suppressing herself from erupting in front of Sakura, who was now hugging her knees at a corner. She knew that Sakura was already exhausted. The sky's descent was a good 83 kilometers from Konoha. And she had made the trip back for only 32 minutes. A feat. A new record if she was in good humor, for she would have already told the record council to write it down had it been not for the serious case they had. Was Naruto all right? Kakashi was good at tracking. He might have gotten to Naruto by now. Tsunade gnawed at the nail of her right thumb and began pacing the room. Sakura looked up wearily at her. Don't look at me like that, pretty face. She glanced at Sakura if she had obeyed. Sakura had kept her stare. Tsunade hunkered in front of her. Come on. Don't do that. Everything will be all right, okay? We will find them and they will both be alive with only a few scratches here and there. Sakura finally looked away. I don't care about Sasuke. Let him die. He stabbed Naruto who was just trying to save him. Would Naruto like to hear that from you? He was trying to save Sasuke for you. He was only doing that because he believed that I still loved the bastard. So, wasn't that the case? No. The one I truly love is him. Naruto. Tsunade her eyebrow, intrigued. I didn't know that. Sakura blushed despite of herself and unbelievably because of the situation. She nodded. It's true. I was a fool in the past not to notice it. But now there's no one in my heart but Naruto. When we found him, would you confess to him? For me, I want to see Naruto happy. Tsunade offered a sweet, hopeful smile. Outside, the two teams began their ascent up the stairs going to the top floor. Their authority was tangible in the air. Some of the villagers who happened to be in the building bowed their heads when they passed by. The Hyuga Special Search Squad, HS-3, was comprised of Neji, Hinata, and Aika. Hyuga Neji had long, dark hair acting as background for his beautiful face. If not for his stern expression, many would think of him as a woman, especially that Hyuga males wore long tunics. He was considered a genius and the youngest to be awarded the title of Gyukin-sei, in other words, Ultimate Master. His being a son of the Hyuga branch had been discarded, the seal on his forehead erased. Now he could obliged to attend, meetings among the Hyuga main. On his right was Hyuga Hinata, who was once a shy one, but today her pretty face had a strong quality in it. All of Konoha knew that she was in love with their hero, Naruto. Because of it, many aspiring boyfriends had their hearts broken early on. They thought, especially the immigrants, that Hinata had high standards. Too high even for Naruto was internationally known as one of the best shinobis in history. A cage material, as old folks would say. Her father had accepted her back as his daughter and the legitimate heir of the Jiyukin discipline and the Hyuga leadership. Even though Neji was still ways ahead in skill, Hinata had proven enough that the Hyuga clan could count on her. A ceremony had been held the day she was reinstated where all the elders and seniors of the Hyuga clan touched their foreheads against the ground, prostrating themselves for the wrong judgment they had done on her. Hinata was now one of the 5 Grand Masters of Hyuga in Jiyukin, only a level below Neji. Another of the 5 Grand Masters was Hyuga Aika, a bubbly 13-year-old girl with short white hair. She was a prodigy. Despite of her petite body, she could fight against bigger opponents. She was a member of a special family in the Hyuga main, the Hyuga hybrids. Her family had the royal blood of the ancient Hyugas. The children born in this family had special eyes that had gold rim around the irises. They were capable of activating the 8 gates without the danger of dying, unlike ordinary shinobis. Also, they had God reflex, an ability that made it easy for them to transfer commands to and from the brain. This special ability made their reaction speed an estimated 304 times faster than that of a skilled taijutsu user. At her young age, she was already a Jonin. She entirely skipped elementary school and was trained by Jiyukin-sei Hyuga Kitashi himself, the legendary Firm Fist. Other than Neji, Hinata and the Jiyukin cease, the only other person she had lost to was Naruto. She had become curious about him and asked Hinata. With Hinata's all-compliment description of him, she fell in love with Naruto. Aika had written Naruto's name on the Hyuga's official journal as her future husband. If Naruto did not sign his refusal and Aika took another man as husband, Aika would be sentenced to death as punishment. The other team, the Inuzuka Tracking Specialists Team, ITST, was comprised of Kiba, Momoko, and Katsuo. Kiba was the dominating existence even though the two were not that behind. The reason was because he always had his big white dog with him. Akamaru, his dog, had grown muscular, more handsome in human description, more predatory in jungle words. A giant breed, Akamaru occupied a third of the hallway. His master Kiba would have been ordinary looking if not for the 2 red fang-shaped tattoos on his face, one on each cheek, the symbol for warrior in the Inuzuka clan. He was the top tracking shinobi of Konoha. His sense of smell was on par with Akamaru's and he reacted with his instincts more, an ability that had made him famous as the timing magician, because of his uncanny premonitions in battles, usually escaping death in incredibly dire situations, than with his common sense. In battles done in forests, he always had the upper hand. Inuzuka Momoko was the granddaughter of the Inuzuka chieftain. Blessed with extraordinary beauty and a body that didn't get fat however much she ate, she was considered one of the most beautiful gems in Konoha. Her eyes were a pair of walnuts, sometimes almost as red as the sunset. She had long brown hair that was quite unruly because of her wild habits and smooth skin the color of rich chocolate. Painters had praised her symmetrical features, from the soft curves of her jaws, her high cheekbones, and her thin nose. The only problem about her was her tomboyish nature. She was already 18, but she was more rugged than most men, not a sign of femininity. For most, she was an eye candy. However, once she began to speak, her rough edges showed themselves. But don't be fooled by her looks. She was pretty skilled in taijutsu and was born with special set of muscles most martial artists would love to have. Our body is composed of 2 types of muscles, the strong red muscles and the high endurance white muscles. However, she had muscles with the mixture of both, pink muscles. Thus, her physical potential shot up. Even Mighty Guy had once said that Momoko could be a master among the masters. In the past, she had been confident about her skills so she hated to train and she distrusted senseis. She had been as lazy as Shikamaru. One day Naruto challenged her in a taijutsu duel. Of course, Naruto lost. After a week, Naruto challenged her again and again he lost. 2 months passed before Naruto challenged her again. She accepted the challenge. At first she was winning. However, Naruto managed to sneak a punch in and she lost consciousness. That day she lost. After a week she decided to challenge him for a rematch. He gladly accepted. The fight was fierce. However, Naruto managed to sneak 2 punches in this time and she lost once more. The third time she challenged him, Naruto managed to sneak 5 punches in. She didn't give up on challenging him as if it had become her personal mission, but each time she lost. After 358 fights, she hadn't won against Naruto, yet. "Why can't I win against you?" she had asked him. It was after their latest fight. She was holding her bruised right shoulder. Naruto grinned at her. "It's because you're lazy and overconfident. You know, you have a gift. You could be a great taijutsu master one day. I fought you because your cousin, Kiba, asked me to wake you up from that bad behavior. The first time I lost to you, I took special classes from Guy Sensei. I worked hard so that I would be able to be skillful in taijutsu. I'm not like you who can easily simulate and understand the purpose of a move, but I don't stop until I perfect a move as my sensei wanted it to be. You can't beat me until now because I keep on challenging Guy Sensei to push me harder so that I can become like Rock Lee, his chosen disciple. Momoko-chan, I envy you for having a body designed for taijutsu, but if you will not put hard work in the equation and trust experienced fighters to teach you, that gift will be wasted on you." Naruto's words struck her like thunderbolt. Many of her relatives had said those words before, but she ignored them. But this time, even though she wanted to ignore him, rebel against him, threw him a tantrum designed to piss him off, she couldn't. The tone that Naruto had used to speak those words that she had heard 1,000 times before had made her feel special, respected, and loved at the same time. "What should I do then?" she said. "I heard that the Inuzuka clan is full of strong masters. Find one and work hard." Before Naruto could go on, Momoko tiptoed and bit him on the neck, leaving 4 fang marks on it. Naruto clasped a hand over the small wounds and stared at Momoko, confused. Momoko just smiled and left. He did not know that the gesture was the first of the 4 traditional rituals of engagement in the Inuzuka clan. Momoko had just made him her target. I guess she was just too mad at me, was what Naruto thought. Momoko found a master of her liking and worked hard under her guidance. In just 1 year, she mastered skills that normally taught after 15 years of apprenticeship. Her master said to her, "I'm happy that you've come back. Now that you impart diligence and conviction in your training, you might surpass me in 2 years." The last of the Inuzuka team was Katsuo. He was a big guy with a pelt of polar bear on his back. He had small eyes and what covered his scalp wasn't hair but symbolic tattoos, characters only the Inuzuka elders would understand. He didn't speak much, but he was popular for being kind to animals and small children. His most potent weapon was the lion's roar, a taijutsu technique requiring strength and control of the respiratory system, especially the vocal cords. His voice, once amplified, could demolish a concrete building. Another skill he had was his ability to speak with wolves. Not like Kiba who could communicate only to Akamaru, Katsuo could communicate with every kind of wolves that were already capable of deciding for themselves. Nobody but him could do this. This skill made him indispensable in the ITST. They reached Tsunade's office. Tsunade sighed and said, "Finally." Tsunade stood up and faced the 2 teams. Sakura weakly looked at them from her seat. Neji showed Tsunade the red container, small like a baby's finger, where the message had been put into. The fastest courier hawk had brought it to him. "This means that it's urgent. Who are we searching for?" he said. Something went wrong with Team Kakashi's mission. Naruto fell down into the mouth of Hades. What? Not all of them blurted this out. But Tsunade was sure everyone was shocked. "What happened?" Momoko said, and stepped forward. She stood next to Neji. Kakashi was with them, right? Naruto tried to save Sasuke, was all Tsunade could tell. Knowing that she could no longer get an answer from Tsunade, Momoko approached Sakura. Sakura-chan, how the hell did that happen? Momoko, Tsunade said, let's save the questions for later. You need to get there fast. Kakashi stayed to search for Naruto, but the bottom of that falls is pretty wide. It's better if you leave now. Sakura pushed herself up against the wall. She was noticeably shaking. I'm going, too. Momoko saw this and compassion filled her heart. Can you even stand up? She said. I will go no matter what you say. Nobody can stop me. Kiba, Neji, make sure you find him, Tsunade said. Hinata, pull out 5 teams of A and B used to help out. Sakura, you will stay here. Sakura almost shouted when she heard this. No, I'll go. This is a crucial situation, Sakura. You know yourself that you'll just be a burden to them. They need to move fast, even faster than necessary. Please. Tsunade turned around and scolded Sakura with the fiercest expression she could come up with. That's an order. She stared at Sakura and Sakura stared back. They kept it for a full 5 seconds. You will stay here. She jerked her head back at the two teams. Now, go. Kiba and Neji nodded in assent. Momoko hesitated for a split second before following. She wanted to protest to Tsunade, but Tsunade was right. Sakura began to cry. As Momoko was about to step out of the room, Hinata came running in. She embraced Sakura with all her might. Everything will be all right, okay, Hinata said. We'll find Naruto. She kissed Sakura's cheek. You need to listen to Master Tsunade and rest. Naruto-kun would want to see you well when he got back. Hinata's words not only brought smile to Sakura's lips, but to Momoko's and Tsunade's as well. Playing martyr, Hinata-chan. Momoko teased as Hinata passed by. You wanted to do that, too, am I right? Hinata smiled. Now let's bring back Naruto-kun. Even though all of them knew about the Sky's Crescent history and they had seen its general geography above and below from books, once they arrived at the bottom, the ambience of the place took their breath away. Even the Inuzuka trio, who had been in many forests before, felt a chill up their spines as they stood in that abnormally thick mist. Aika blew air from her cute mouth. Now her lips were pale, as if to whistle but not a note turned up. Wowie. Talk about scary, she said. It will be hard to see here even with our Byakugan. We'll pair up, Neji said. Hinata Momoko, Aika Kiba. I'll go with Katsuo. That way each team will have a pair of eyes and a nose. The captain of the ANBU team, which was composed of 25 people, approached Neji. His mask had become moist because of the floating mist. We'll be searching on our own. Sorry for our selfishness. I understand, Neji said. Good luck. Yeah, good luck. Like a flock of flies shoot away, all that could be seen were the lines of their departure when they moved out. The search team has arrived. They are already on the move. It's a big team. 31 people, Paku reported to Kakashi. They were around 800 meters from the mouth of Hades. They had been searching along the stream. The thickness of the mist hadn't changed a bit. That's good, Kakashi said. Aren't you going to talk to one of them? It'll be a waste of time. We need to hurry with our search. Naruto should have already hit the water 2 hours ago. And, Kakashi suddenly put a hand over his Sharingan. My Sharingan is draining my chakra quicker than normal. It must be due to this abnormal atmosphere, Paku said, emphasizing his statement by looking around. In addition, you fought with Sasuke. You wasted your energy by trying hard not to inflict him with fatal damage. I think you should rest a bit. There's no time. Kakashi stood up and resumed his search. Orochimaru stood up from his perch, smiling. He hadn't changed much. He was still the sickly-looking villain the whole world knew of, pale and pasty skin, emaciated cheeks, and long, dull hair. Wasn't it that Itachi had already killed him? No. He had survived through Kabuto. He was Yuki no Orochi, the White Snake. He could enter a body, be it dead or still alive. He could enter the mind. It was easy for him to transform into a single tiny cell, propagate, and be born again. That was what he had done. Kabuto had grafted Orochimaru's cell in his forearm, found a suitable body, and transferred the cell into that body. Now he lived, but with a single flaw. Because he had almost died once, taking on another body would be very dangerous. He could no longer do it without risking his life. He had met with Madara and expressed his desire to be an Akatsuki again. Madara accepted him back. So, you are just interested now in destroying Konoha, Madara had said. How about your desire to learn every ninjutsu in this world? What I know is enough, Orochimaru said. I've already accepted that I will die in the end. No one can be immortal. History never permits that. I managed to outlive myself. I'm as old as Konoha, don't forget. Orochimaru smiled at this. History is not tired of you, yet. But, once she is, one way or another, you will die. Interesting. That's an amusing philosophy. I'm sure. I've died once already. He was laughing as he left. This was 3 years ago. Madara suddenly appeared beside him on the branch of the tree. He was still wearing his orange mask, which only had a hole for his right eye, and had curving lines that made a whirlpool on it in which the eye hole was the center. He was carrying Sasuke on his shoulder. Orochimaru looked at Sasuke, longingly. Once my prey, he said. He is virtually dead. Only his chakra remains. We have 2 more hours, tops. That's easy. Uchiha has strong blood. They don't die easily. How about the other one? I let the stream take him wherever it wants. He's dead. Are you sure? Yes. Even his chakra is gone. Orochimaru was amused. He an eyebrow. You never know. That boy was, rather amazing. But, well, even if he's still breathing, he will soon die. Kakashi has been searching for him, has he not? He was too late. Naruto had gone very far already when he arrived at the bottom. We were late as well. Only earlier than him. So, what do you plan on doing? Will you let the situation as it is? They might accidentally find our hideout if they kept on searching along the stream. Shizumaru made a fake using a dead body. The blood he collected from the Kusanagi was enough to replicate the boy. They will not know the difference. Accessories. Clothing. Isn't it better if you have just collected the boy, killed him a second time, and left him for them to find? Madara was quiet. Of course, Orochimaru had a point. That was the best solution. But, would he tell him what had really happened? It was unbelievable. In the end, he decided to tell Orochimaru. I couldn't touch him. He sank before I could grab him. Sank. In the stream. Yes. Orochimaru laughed. Even nature doesn't want him to be touched by evil hands. Anyway, nothing to worry about. We have a stock of clothing similar to what Naruto was wearing. Some of our underlings had already disguised as him in the past. The crystal was the only problem, but it is easy to conclude that the stream has taken it away. More importantly, we need to revive Sasuke before it's too late. Show me how incredible you really are. With that they were gone. Kakashi found the body in the middle of the stream 1.5 kilometers from the mouth of Hades. A jutting rock in the stream had caught it and the current swayed its arms and legs lifelessly like a ragdoll. He leapt towards the rock. Perching on it, he leaned down and picked up the body. He shot a cable to a tall tree and swung himself to the shore. He laid the body down on the pebbles. He didn't need to look at it closely to recognize the face. There was no doubt. It was Naruto. He searched for a pulse, immediately, using both hands. On the neck, on the wrist, on the center of the chest. None. Every second seemed to him like a cube of ice being put one by one around his body. Soon, he was trembling because of those imaginary ice cubes courtesy of his fear. He could see the tremors on his hands. Not in his life had he been like this. No, he muttered. He tore his mask, still not letting go of the hope that Naruto was still alive. Just a small sign. God, just a small sign is all I need. Frantically, he lowered his right cheek above Naruto's lips, eyes shut, praying for a small breath. None. He moved towards Naruto's chest, listened, and got disappointed. No, no, Naruto, please. He would never let go of him. He opened Naruto's mouth and blew some air into it. He pumped at Naruto's chest, went to his mouth again, pumped at his chest again. Still, there was no reaction. Naruto, come on. Breathe. God damn it. Breathe. He repeated this until eventually his strength left him. If he could see his face, he could see in there disbelief, fear, sadness, anger, frustration, and despair mixed in a mocking way, mocking him. Shit, no one could see him, but, even if someone could, he would not care. He sat on the ground and put his face in his hands. It was the very first time that Kakashi, ever since he got out of his childhood, had cried. If Sasuke was there, he could have killed him without a fleck of remorse. He weakly fumbled for his radio and called Paku. It's me. I found him. Where are you? Paku sounded relieved. Sector 23, 1533 kilometers from the mouth. Is he okay? Kakashi wanted to keep the truth from Paku as much as from himself, but he knew that it was no use. We are too late. Paku was quiet for 10 seconds. Oh, my. I'll gather everyone. Over and out. In just 2 minutes, 25 ANBUs arrived at the place. Some looked away when they saw the body. Anyone has a bag? Kakashi asked. He put on a new mask to cover his face. An Anbu approached and produced a rolled rubber bag. Here. Don't tell the kids, yet. Paku, have you told the kids? I'm sorry. They're coming, Paku said. Prepare shots of tranquilizer. We'll need them. Carefully, he laid the bag down, and, as if handling the most fragile earthen vase, he carried Naruto's body over it. He zipped up the bag too carefully that it seemed he would finish the act for a full 1 minute. As he stood up, he noticed some movements from the bushes. Akamaru's whimper was audible. Akamaru whimpered when he recognized the smell. Momoko was frozen at the sight of the bag. She knew what it meant, but still she sought for some denial from the other people around. Akamaru sniffed at the bag and suddenly howled. No, no, Momoko began. As that, no, don't say it. Kiba got off Akamaru, knelt beside the bag, and pulled down the zipper to reveal Naruto's face. Momoko fell to her knees and screamed. Katsuo immediately pulled her aside and chanted some soothing words into her ears. Kiba backed off and went to Akamaru. He buried his face in Akamaru's soft fur and sobbed. Aika! Neji yelled. Aika pushed Hinata a few steps away from the bag. It's okay. It's nothing. You don't have to look. Hinata was breathing hard. She was shooting glances at Aika and the bag. Her lips were open and began to get dry. Please, believe me. Aika's voice cracked, betraying her true emotions. She embraced Hinata and cried. Hinata Oni-chan, Hinata Oni-chan. Neji was clenching his jaws. Close it. No one moved. Close it, damn it. Kakashi heeded his words. Upon completing the action, Hinata fainted. Give the girls some sedative. Now, Kakashi said. 2 ANBUs gave Momoko and Aika a shot each in the arm. They counted 15 seconds and the girls fell asleep. Okay. I hope you 3 don't need any, he said to Neji. No. Kakashi sighed through his nose. Okay. Let's move. The Jonins and the ANBUs arrived 20 past 12 of the clock that evening. Neji, Kiba, and Katsuo had Hinata, Aika, and Momoko in their arms while Kakashi had Naruto. Upon arriving, Paku and his dog colleagues disappeared into smoke. An Anbu immediately went to fetch Tsunade, and when they came back, Tsunade went to see Naruto right away. Kakashi gently set the bag down and pulled down the zipper to show Tsunade Naruto's face. Tsunade barely held her emotions when she saw him, but she forced herself to suppress them so as not to let her subordinates see her cry. At her command, they take Naruto to the morgue and the three girls they brought to the hospital. Kakashi and the ANBUs stayed for a while for Tsunade's instructions, but all she said to them was, "Leave." She wanted to say that she would conduct an autopsy on Naruto, but all that came after that was, "Please." Alone in the morgue where dead bodies had their own place in the large freezer, Tsunade stood beside Naruto, staring with intensity at his face. After a moment she reached out and pulled Naruto's head into her bosom. The cold skin against hers became the spark that lit the fuse of her heart. She let go of the tears that had been in her eyes all along and cut the silence with soft, "I love you, I'll miss you, and, you'll always be my son." She held him to her for a very long time, whispering sweet endearments she had not had the chance to tell him when he was still alive. She regretted holding back her love for him, and now that he was there but would never hear her despite being near, she could not help but feel stupid. She gently set his head down on the metal table and put a tender kiss on his forehead. Straightening up to look at him for the last time, she said, "I'll never forget you, Naruto. Goodbye." Sakura opened her eyes when she heard the commotion below. She was on the second floor. It was a wonder for her that the gossip loud voices coming from below reached her ears. She felt apprehensive. Her spine was tingling. She willed herself to get out of bed, pulling the tubes that supplied her body with food and water from her hands. On her way to the door, she kept telling herself that what was waiting for her was good news, that the anxiety that had so suddenly struck her was just a cruel prank of her imagination, and that Naruto would be in a room somewhere and waiting for her to visit. However, once outside, what greeted her was Kiba's grave expression. "Where is he?" Sakura said. "Is he all right?" Kiba gulped. "He's dead, Sakura." Sakura stared at Kiba with accusing eyes and, as if her mouth had its own life, said, "I don't believe you. Don't kid around." "I'm sorry. I said don't kid around." Sakura ran past Kiba with speed that surprised even her. She reached the admission counter on the first floor and asked, "Uzumaki Naruto. His room, please." The attendant looked towards Neji and Katsuo who were sitting on a bench nearby. Sakura followed the attendant's gaze and saw the two. She went to them. "Where's Naruto?" Sakura. Katsuo began, but Neji cut in. "He's with Master Tsunade at the morgue." Sakura glared at Neji. "Stop fooling with me. Nobody is fooling with you." Neji looked into Sakura's eyes. "Look, I know you're upset, but so are we. No one wanted this to happen, Sakura. He's dead. The best thing we can do for him right now is to accept it." "No," and her tears began to flow. "No." She sprinted towards the morgue. "Naruto. Where is he?" Tsunade stood up from the bench she had been sitting in. "Sakura." Sakura collapsed to her knees like a bombed building, too fast as if her lower half had suddenly been hacked off from her body. Naruto was there all right, there and dead. Her right hand found her mouth, and she suppressed a scream. What came out from that otherwise lovely mouth was a mixture of a moan and blubber, as if she was going to choke. Tsunade embraced her, saying, "Shush, shush, Sakura. He just had to. He just had to go, honey. Let's let him go, okay? Let us." Gaara was the 15-year-old young man sitting at the desk that belonged to the most important person in Sunagakur. He was the Kage. He had red hair that he kept very short, just enough to cover his scalp. Black markings that rimmed his eyes made his stare compelling and dreadful at the same time. A red tattoo of the character for demon had been put on a patch of skin above his left eye. It reminded him of what he had used to be when he was a child, a killer, and made him more caring as Sunagakur's leader. The stone door opened and Tamari entered. She was 17 years old and possessed a tomboyish kind of beauty. She always tied her golden hair into 2 pairs of ponytails behind her head and carried her large iron fan, her weapon, that she slung on her back everywhere. She was Gaara's older sister. Gaara looked up. Tamari. What brings you here? I have bad news. He frowned. Tell me. I received report that Naruto is already dead. Gaara's eyelids parted, leaving his pupils suspended at the center of his eyes, looking like they had just shrunk in size. What did you say? His body was found last night near the mouth of Hades. He had been fighting with Sasuke when the accident happened. The Hokage decided to commence the burial in 3 days. Naruto is dead. Tamari didn't answer. Tell the whole village about this. Put the flags in half-mast. I'll go to Konoha and nobody can stop me. Nobody will stop you, Gaara. Kankuro said the same thing. I'll go with you. This will be the last time we'll see of the man that saved you and Sunagaku for that matter. Yumino Iruka was the name of the man who was now running frantically on the street towards the hospital. He was the first teacher who had believed in Naruto. The large scar across his face was as pale as his lips. His usual calm countenance was distorted in panic. He reached the admission ward and looked around. He found Neji and talked to him. Is it true? Is Naruto dead? Even before the confirmation, his tears had already begun to flow. Where is he? We will have the wake, shortly, Tsunade said, coming out from the corner going to the morgue. Her eyes were swollen from crying. He is getting groomed right now. We will see him, shortly. May I see him? May I see him, master? Please, before he is put inside the glass. Please, let me see him. I can't do that. I'm sorry, Iruka. You have to wait. No. He turned around and settled himself on the bench. No. He put his face in his hands. I can't believe this. The first group of villagers composed of 20 persons came to the hospital at 7:12. On their faces was the hope that the news that they had heard was just a cruel prank from someone. The 10 ANBUs guarding the doors of the hospital didn't let them go in. Anbu-san, he is still alive, right? Naruto-kun, it was just a lie, right? Said one. We will not believe this ridiculous news unless we see Naruto. Said another. Please, tell us. Please, said a third. But the ANBUs kept quiet. 2 hours later, the group grew in number. From 20, it grew to more than 800 heads. Everyone was hopeful that Naruto was still alive. When Tsunade finally went outside at 10, there were already 2,000 villagers outside the hospital. She blinked at the large crowd and stopped. What's going on? She asked one Anbu. They want confirmation, ma'am. Look, it's Master Tsunade, said an old man. The people shifted their attention towards Tsunade. Master Tsunade, we want to know the real situation. How is Naruto? Tsunade felt a pang of panic. She hesitated to tell them. Hurting them was the least thing she wanted to do to the villagers. She searched for a way out. However, as she scanned the faces of the people, she caught sight of a child and her wavering suddenly collapsed. She raised her hands to shush them. I regret to tell this to you, but the news of Naruto's death is true. The villagers gasped in unison. He was on a mission when the accident happened. We found him last night near the mouth of Hades. He is now resting in peace. He didn't suffer. That was a lie, she thought she must add. Please, pray for his soul. Tsunade went to her office. Upon entering it, she caught sight of a framed picture on top of her filing cabinet. It was a picture of her, Shizune, Naruto, and Jiraiya taken at the time Konoha was in need of a new Hokage after the third's death in the hands of Orochimaru. She picked it up. She remembered her first impression of Naruto. She had thought that he was an idiot and had no potential. However, he had intrigued her when he said that he would be a Hokage someday. You, Hokage, in your dreams, she had said. You can laugh, now. Naruto replied. But I promise you that I'll be the best Hokage of all time. The memory brought a smile to her lips. He doesn't have talent, Jiraiya had said. But he has the making of a great man. I bet my life on it. Naruto had proven himself when he saved her from Kabuto using the Rasengan that he had somehow learned despite of the technique's level of difficulty. That time she had honestly admired the boy. She had even given him the amulet her grandfather, the first Hokage, had bestowed in her possession. She blinked at the thought. Naruto had not been wearing her amulet when the Anbu brought him last night. She shook her head. The river must have taken it away from him. Now that she thought of it, every person she had given that amulet to had died. It might be better that it was gone. That way the curse was stopped. Would the river begin to die, too? She smiled as she replaced the frame. There was a knock at the door. When she allowed entrance, Shizune came in. She was carrying a bunch of letters. These arrived a few hours ago, Shizune said. Tell me about the important ones. The Kazekage, Mizukage, Reikage, and Tsuchikage had expressed their desire to come for the burial. Our enemies had issued a temporary truce and promised to respect the ceremony we will conduct for, in their own words, a very important existence in the world. Even the enemies, their spies surely work hard. The other letters came from Naruto's friends in other countries. Put them on my desk. Shizune did as told. You should take a short nap, Master Tsunade. You haven't had any sleep. Tsunade smiled a little. It's too late, now. Your first love just died. What will you do, Shizune? How long have you known that? Ever since the day I saw you smiling to yourself. Indulge me, Shizune. How did it happen? I promised to keep this to myself forever because it's embarrassing. But, now, I think it's alright. Let's get some. Shizune arrived a few minutes after Tsunade had called for her. Naruto was already there, sitting on the edge of Tsunade's desk. Impatience was already beginning to creep on his handsome face. She smiled to herself. She had just thought that Naruto was handsome. She shrugged. It was true anyway. What was wrong with that? Master Tsunade, she said. Without looking up, Tsunade said, I have a mission for the both of you. You two will establish cover in the Valley of Thorns, as a couple. Shizune noticed that Naruto was suspicious of Tsunade. He might be thinking that the pause before, as a couple, had something to do with everything. Isn't it better that I go with another male Jonin? Or better still, if I just go alone? Naruto said. If you go alone, you'll not be doing anything but attract suspicion, you idiot. And going with another male is worse, Tsunade replied. Shizune said, no Kunoichi has arrived, yet. Tsunade shook her head. No one is available right now. And Naruto. She frowned. Shizune looked at Naruto and found that he was blushing. What's with that face? Don't go around thinking perverted stuff while you're in front of me. I can't help it. Naruto said. This is my first time going on a mission alone with a girl. And with Shizune-san, too. I didn't mean anything about that, Shizune-san. It's just. Tsunade sighed. Your main priority is to spy on their government's secret dealings. I have received report that this village is currently financing Akatsuki. And Naruto, this is not an assault mission. Whomever you see, never initiate attack. I'll just send you two for surveillance. Is that clear? You mean to say that some of the Akatsuki might show up? Tsunade nodded. It's highly possible, so be always on your guard. Naruto clenched his fist. He seemed excited. Okay. I accept. When do we depart? I want you to be there as early as tomorrow. You'll depart this evening. I can hardly wait. See you later, then, Shizune-san. I'll go prepare my things. I'll be at my apartment if you want to talk about the mission. Shizune just nodded and watched as Naruto bounced out of the room. He seemed in full spirits, Tsunade said. Shizune glared at her. What are you doing? Why did you suddenly pitch me up with Naruto? I have no choice. And what's with that tone? You sound as if you don't like to be paired up with Naruto. Yes. He was Jiraiya-sensei's disciple. I'm sure Naruto has been contaminated by his perverseness. Then why did you keep quiet while Naruto had been complaining earlier? I might have given in if you supported him. I was just too surprised to talk. But did you notice his blush? I got nervous thinking what was going on in his mind. Shizune, he's 15. You're 22. Aside from that, you know a list of techniques that can disable him completely. What are you afraid of? Shizune was silent. I know Naruto. I believe in him. He's not like Jiraiya, who's a pervert to the core. Tsunade had a point, but if he got beaten up by me, it's your fault. HMPH. Shizune stomped away out of the office. In his apartment, Naruto was packing his clothes when he heard knocks coming from the door. Coming, he said. He left what he was doing and went to open the door. It was Shizune. Shizune-san, come in. He stepped aside to let her through. Have a seat. I'll get you a drink. Naruto went to the kitchen. Shizune silently took in the room. The place was tidy, but there was an unmistakable personality about it that made her think that the room was really owned by a man. Naruto returned with a pitcher of juice, a glass, and cookies. He poured juice into the glass and sat on the sofa across her. Are you here for the mission? He said. Shizune took a sip from her glass. How will you treat me as your wife, Naruto? Naruto was obviously taken aback. He blushed. I haven't thought about that yet. Shizune let out an exasperated sigh. What you're doing is a no-no, Naruto. What is that? Your face. You blush at the slightest hint of romance. Naruto looked away in embarrassment. I'm sorry. I can't help it. This is going to be difficult. This is my first time on a mission alone with a girl. I'm not used to it. Then quit imagining things. It's not that. I'm more like embarrassed with the idea. To make this work, you have to be comfortable with me. Do you have something on your mind that could help me? Can you even hold my hand without shaking? When Naruto didn't reply, she said, let me rephrase the question. Have you ever held hands with a girl before? Naruto shook his head no. You mean, ever? I think I have done it, unconsciously. I mean, when the situation requires it. But, as soon as I notice what I'm doing, I let go. Shizune stared at him, dumbfounded. Look at this, Master Tsunade. Why did you come up with such a ridiculous idea? Naruto said, am I really required to be quite intimate with you? Can't we just pretend to be together? Besides, displaying affection in public is considered impolite. No, we don't know what might happen during the mission. There might come a time when we need to kiss or be seen doing this and that in front of many people. Naruto's blush deepened. He swallowed. With you. Shizune an eyebrow. Are you kidding me? Of course, it's with me. She sighed. I refuse to go if you're not ready for this. I don't want to fail this mission, too. Maybe there are more suitable guys for this mission than me. If you think that I'm not suitable, I'll tell Master Tsunade about it. The only names that are not scheduled for a mission, yet, are Lee and Neji. Compared to those two, you are more ordinary. Besides, I can't imagine myself going out with them. The expression on Naruto's face was like asking her, and me? Can you imagine yourself going out with me? So she cleared her throat and added, don't mind that last sentence. Anyway, let's practice. Practice? Yes. First, tell me what you think about me. Honestly. Do I have to? This is so I'll know how I will act around you. Naruto looked away. Where do you want me to start? Geez, do I still have to tell you? Okay. What do you think of my appearance? For me, you're pretty cute. To tell you the truth, I like the way you look. Shizune was unmoved with his confession. She thought that he was just telling that. No strings attached. But, there were strings. All right. That's a good start. At least, you like something about me. I like your appearance, too. Just don't grin too much because it makes you look stupid. Sorry. I was complimenting you there. Now, what do you know about my personality? This sounds like a marriage interview. Of course. You will be my husband in this. Naruto was pressured by her stare. You're kind and reliable. You also work hard, and you know how to use your time wisely. This is not a guessing game. What you just told me is applicable to every conscientious villager here. Tell me about me. Naruto shot her a look, considering. Are you sure you want to know? Of course. But, it's a little. Are you telling me or not? Okay. Don't hate me for this. He cleared his throat as if what he was going to tell her was of global importance. You love animals, especially pigs and frogs. You love bitter food. You hate drunks and gamblers, except Master Tsunade. You haven't had any serious relationship with a man before because you dedicate your time in mastering medical techniques. You don't eat pork. You love dark colors. You bathe 3 times a day. He trailed off when he saw that Shizune was gaping at him. Shizune-san. She blushed. Have you been spying on me? I told you. I'm asking the question. Naruto cringed. No. Of course, not. Then how did you know? Naruto's face had turned as red as a tomato. I asked around about you. What? Naruto panicked. I didn't mean anything by that. I mean, I'm just interested in you because you're not like every girl I've met. I'm sorry if that made you mad. His words were sincere. He wasn't hiding anything. Shizune felt that and relaxed a little. Even though she wouldn't admit it, she was flattered. How did you know that I bathe 3 times a day? She asked. Master Tsunade accidentally told that to me. But I didn't ask about it. Honest. I'll kill you if you tell that to anyone, do you understand? Yes. I promise. Shizune looked around, casually, thinking. The conversation had been striking fuse after fuse in her rather routine type of life, and for her it was making her slightly on edge. But I'm surprised you know this much about me, she finally said. I didn't know that someone would be this interested in me. She looked back at Naruto. He was watching his feet. She suppressed a small giggle that could have embarrassed him even more. Naruto was so cute at that time she wanted to pinch his cheeks. Anyway, back to business. What do you think about it, my personality? Naruto looked up. As I said, it intrigues me. Do you like me the way I am? Naruto looked away and nodded. She smiled. The giggle threatened to go out once again. She swallowed it. Anyway, now that you told me what you think about me, it's my turn. I'll just sum up everything, okay? She stared at Naruto while considering if she should say what was on her mind or not. She decided to say it. I like you, Naruto. Naruto blinked at her in surprise. She knew by the look on his face what was on his mind. She teased him a little. What's the matter? Why are you looking at me like that? Must be my imagination. Sorry. You don't like what you heard. I thought for a second that you were confessing to me. Shizune laughed. It had a clear, exotic sound. Let's not be secretive with each other. I'm already 22. From what you said, I can confidently conclude that you like me, a lot. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. The truth is it will make things easier between us. Okay. Silence. Shizune had never expected that it would come up to this. She hadn't had any idea that this boy in front of her had a crush on her. As he was now, she knew that if she didn't make the first step, nothing would materialize. The flame would extinguish by itself. The silence enfolding them at the moment was enough to undo the magic. So she stood up. She went and sat close to Naruto. Really close. Naruto swallowed. Is my conclusion correct? Do you like me, as a woman? Shizune said, a sly smile on her lips. Naruto shot a look at the door. Gulping, he scooted away from her. Shizune-san, don't you think this is getting overboard? Shizune scooted and smothered Naruto to the arm of the couch. I'm asking you a question. If I told you that I do, then I would be flattered. Now, this is very important to establish a convincing partnership. She paused, dramatically. Naruto, kiss me. Horrified, Naruto blurted out, what? I can't do that. Remember what I told you. It's very important for you to be comfortable with me. No, even if it's for the mission. Shizune stood up and crossed her arms, pretending to be irritated. If you will be like that, I refuse to go. But, Shizune-san, it's a kiss, Naruto argued. It's something you should only give to the one you love. Don't be a child forever. We are ninjas. A kiss is a potent weapon in time of need. Besides, don't take this too personal, Naruto. We are just practicing. What if someone saw us being awkward with each other? If you can't do this simple act with me, how do you intend to deceive the scrutinizing eyes of other people? But, Naruto surrendered. He sighed. Okay. Shizune glanced at him. What's okay? We can kiss. Shizune sat back rather too enthusiastically beside him. Who will do it? Naruto asked. You are doing it. Men always initiate these things. She closed her eyes. Don't think. Just do it. Naruto stared at Shizune's pretty face. His blushing face reddened even more. Do we really need to do this? Just do it. Oh, okay. Naruto closed his eyes, leaned over, and kissed Shizune. Seconds passed by. Shizune pulled back and giggled. She was blushing, enjoying the moment. Naruto still had his lips puckered in front of her. You can open your eyes, now, Shizune said. Naruto opened his eyes. See, there's nothing to it. Dazed, Naruto said, your lips were soft. He caught himself. I didn't mean anything by it. That was very flattering. Listen, like you, this is my first time doing this kind of mission. We should support each other. Think of me as your wife from now on. Is it really okay? Yes, it is. For now, it's very necessary that we establish connection. It's in the book. Shizune stood up to leave. I think we're ready. See you later. Ah, Shizune-san, would you mind if I ask a personal question? What would you like me to answer? Naruto hesitated for a second. If by any chance. Shizune faced him with a knowing expression on her face. She admitted to herself that she had gone overboard. A part of her brain regretted her insinuation, a part was grateful she had done it. But, it was enough. She didn't want to push it further. Think about it thoroughly, Naruto, before you ask it to me. But, in this mission, I'll temporarily be your girlfriend, so don't waste this chance. She winked at him and left. Walking on one of the streets in the village of Thorns, Shizune and Naruto seemed more like siblings than a couple. They were too shy even to hold hands. The tension between them was palpable. The conversation yesterday seemed to have worsened their awkwardness to each other. Naruto said, so, our talk was useless. Yes, it was, Shizune replied. What about you being my girlfriend? That was just a spur of the moment. So, how do we call our relationship right now? Shizune threw Naruto a deadly sideway glance. Her eyes were full of sleeplessness. Are you that desperate to have a girlfriend? No, of course, not. I just feel that we are now more awkward to each other than we would have been if we didn't have that conversation. An old man sweeping in front of a small fruit stand noticed them. Lovers quarrel. It's so good to be young. Are you new here? We are on our honeymoon, Oji-san, Naruto said. I heard about your hot springs here. They're quite popular, so we thought why not pay a visit. Oh, yes, indeed. Our hot springs here are known in the whole world. Yeah, Naruto smiled at Shizune, triumphantly. A potential lead. Oji-san, would you mind if I ask about a rumor about this village? A rumor? What rumor? Naruto leaned in, conspiringly. In a soft voice, he said, is it true that Akatsuki often visits this village? Oh, that rumor. I don't know if it's true, but some people said that they had seen some suspicious men wearing black cloaks talking to government officials. Naruto pretended to worry. Really? Are we going to be safe if we stay here? Don't worry. Up until now, this village has always been peaceful. As a matter of fact, that rumor attracts more tourists. Honey, where are you? Called an old voice of a woman from inside the fruit stand. Oh, the boss is calling me, the old man said. I'm sorry that I must attend to her. Anyway, don't worry about those Akatsuki. Even if our village is small, we have a lot of amazing ninjas here. If I were you, I would just enjoy my stay and keep unnecessary worries away from my mind. Thank you, Oji-san. Later, Naruto smiled at Shizune. Information. That was nice acting, Shizune said. Naruto shrugged. I did this before. Let's go. Naruto suddenly held Shizune's right hand. Shizune was surprised. What's the big idea? Shizune asked. Naruto smiled. Men always initiate these things, right? He abruptly felt something from behind. He tensed up. Shizune noticed this. What's the problem? Someone is following us. Stay put. Naruto pulled Shizune to him and kissed her. Using the act as cover, he shot a sideways glance over his shoulder. A shadow hid from his sight. He broke the kiss and pretended that it was just a sign of affection. He smiled at Shizune. Did you see him? No. But someone was really there. We can't let our guard down. A beat. You're blushing. Shizune pinched his side and looked at him, evilly. Be thankful that I let you live, asshole. Okay. I'm sorry. Shizune let go. HMPH. We had better find a place to stay for the night. Naruto found a decent looking inn at the east side of the village. The place was definitely ancient with the stone carvings and antique paintings on the wall. As he and Shizune stood in the doorway, an old lady of about 70 greeted them. Are you a couple? I'm sorry because we only have one room left, the old lady said. We are a couple and we are taking the room, Naruto said. You seem to be too young to be this pretty lady's husband. Shizune was miffed with the old lady's tone. No, we really are a couple. Besides, I'm already 18. Is it? I'm too old to be fooled, young man, the old lady said. But, if you would indulge me with a true love's kiss, I might change my opinion about you. You're so naughty, Oba-san. Naruto was grinning. But I think there's no problem with that. The old lady smiled. Naruto held Shizune by the waist, to her surprise, and gave her a deep kiss. Shizune couldn't help but close her eyes. The old lady squealed in excitement. Naruto lovingly stared at Shizune after the kiss. Shizune didn't miss that look in his eyes. She blinked in disbelief. The old lady was blushing. Thank you very much. I was reminded of my dead husband because of that. She cackled. Follow me. The old lady showed them the room. It was not that big, but also not that small. There was a pair of futon on the floor laid side by side, 2 pillows, and a large blanket. The sliding door leading to the porch was open to let the night air enter. The old lady said, the bathroom is downstairs and the hot springs are open all night. It's gender-free so you can bathe together. Have a sweet night, you two. Thank you for your hospitality, Naruto said. Just look for me if you have questions. The old lady slid the entrance door close. Naruto instantly felt a dark aura emanating from Shizune once they were left alone. Naruto laughed nervously. What do you think of the room? Did you really have to do that? Shizune was grim. Naruto flinched. I'm sorry. It was necessary. Don't kill me, please. Shizune smacked him with her fist. He ended up with a large knot on top of his head. Ow. Naruto groaned. Shizune said, I think that you could have just talked it out with the old lady since you are so good at lying. I'll take a bath. You stay here. What? You should not go alone. It's very dangerous. I can take care of myself. But, Shizune glared at him with murderous intent. I understand. HMPH. After taking a bath, Shizune arrived on Naruto pacing the room. She was touched by what he was doing. He really cared about her. Stop that. It's annoying, she said. Naruto jerked his head towards her. He stared at her for a moment and sighed. They didn't move for a time. Shizune was looking at the futon. Naruto was looking at the ceiling. So, what is our sleeping arrangement? Since you've shown your true perverted self, we're going to separate the futons. I'll sleep at this side. You sleep at that side. But what if the old lady suddenly comes in and arrives on us like that? Lie to her. You're good at it, aren't you? Shizune-san, look. You told me that we needed to establish connection. You told me that we should support each other. You even told me that you would be my temporary girlfriend. What's happening with you, now? I didn't expect that you would be this unpredictable. You always caught me off guard. I didn't have time to prepare myself. You just did this and did that without asking for my consent first. You scare me. Wasn't that the plan? To act as natural as possible. Where would you see a husband asking permission for a kiss from his wife? It's affecting me a great deal, Naruto. You can't imagine how much. What's that supposed to mean? Shizune didn't answer. He sighed. I'm sorry if I did that to you, he told her. Okay, let's do this. From now on, you take care of our little act and I focus on surveillance. How's that? Shizune frowned at him. I mean, you initiate everything. Kisses, holding hands, hugs, everything. Shizune was still frowning. You don't like that? I think that's a good idea. And, as if to gain some pride she thought she had lost, she added, but we're still sleeping apart. Shush. Your voice is too loud. What if the old lady overhears us? He paused and looked at the wall for a moment. Then he looked back at her straight in the eyes. Shizune-san, all I'm asking from you is a little faith. Do you really think that I'll take advantage of you just because I have every opportunity to do that in this mission? Please trust me even a little. We're a team. Shizune just looked at him. She then went to the futon and slid under the blanket. Naruto frowned. Aren't we sleeping apart? I'm tired. I don't want to concern myself with trivialities. Naruto stared at her with disbelief. Man, women are so complicated. He shook his head and, after watching her for a moment, he went back to business. Anyway, it's a bad idea if we both sleep in this situation, especially after I've confirmed that someone is following us. I had better stay up and guard her. And that was what he did. Naruto had been sitting beside his futon for hours. It was nearly dawn now. He was watching Shizune's face as she slept without a care in the world. Suddenly, Shizune sat up and opened her eyes. He was surprised. Shizune looked around. When she found Naruto, she embraced him. Papa, don't leave us. Please, stay. Don't leave Mama and me, she mumbled. Naruto gaped. She's talking in her sleep. Papa. Naruto hugged her. I'll never leave you. I'll always be here. Shizune smiled, satisfied. That was surprising. Naruto hadn't thought that Shizune had a secret like that. But it didn't last long, his surprise. He knew best how lonely it felt growing up without parents. Also, he had had a better situation because he had lost his parents when he was born. Imagine someone taking your parents away from you or leaving after you had learned to love them. It would be very painful to accept. The pain would definitely seek a way out if it had been really unbearable. Shizune's pain came out in her dreams. He let the embrace last for a while until he was sure that Shizune was already sound asleep. He carefully laid her back on the futon, got up, and went to catch some fresh wind out on the porch. The roosters crowed to signal the coming of a new day. Shizune opened her eyes, sat up, stretched, and yawned. She noticed that Naruto was sitting beside his futon. He seemed fighting to maintain his sitting posture. There were dark circles around his eyes. His eyelids fluttered in drowsiness. She suddenly noticed her open robe and her exposed cleavage. She thought that Naruto had stayed up to watch her. Who knew what he had seen? She hurriedly fixed her robe, reached out, and slapped Naruto. Pervert. Naruto started. Pervert. Where? What are you doing sitting there all night? Naruto sighed in relief. I thought there really was someone. Did you see? You took advantage of me while I was asleep, didn't you? What? No. I stayed up because I was worried someone might attack us while we slept. He rubbed the red patch on his cheek. That hurts. Shizune blushed and smiled apologetically. Is that so? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She realized something. Wait. If you stayed up all night, that means you saw me. Ah, that. Don't worry. I understand that you don't want other people to know. I promise that I'll die not telling that to anyone. Trust me. Please. I really don't want other people to know. I'd rather run across Konoha than let someone know about it. A beat. I mean, if I have no other choice. You were talking about your parents. I don't want to talk about it. I don't remember the details anyway. Master Tsunade picked me up from the street. She has been my parent ever since. I just developed that habit out of the blue. One day, Master Tsunade was laughing at me after she had witnessed me talking in my sleep. I never succeeded in getting rid of that habit. You should only get rid of a habit if it is bad. Besides, talking about your parents in your sleep only proves how much you love them. Now who's older, she thought. Most kids his age often make fun of other people's quirks and habits. But Naruto was different. He was sensitive. He knew what other people needed, how other people wanted to be treated. Shizune looked at him in a new light. She smiled. Thank you, Naruto. Naruto yawned. Let's go down and grab something to eat. She let go of her robe. The move exposed her cleavage again. When she looked up to see how Naruto would react, she found that Naruto was already sleeping. She shook her head and laid him down on the futon. If you keep being like that with me, I might actually fall in love with you. She had already. She just didn't know, yet. They continued their surveillance in the village, but, unfortunately, they couldn't find any lead. The people just simply knew it as a rumor. No one had actually seen the Akatsuki in the village. It was afternoon when Naruto and Shizune went back to the inn. They entered their room with a look of disappointment on their faces. We have been surveying the village for 2 days, but there's still no concrete information regarding Akatsuki. Could it be that Konoha had been misled? Naruto said. I don't know. Maybe that spy last time had already told them about us. If that was true, why haven't they attacked us yet? Suddenly, a chain shot into the porch's sliding door and wound around Shizune's body. In the blink of an eye, the chain retracted and pulled Shizune into the sliding door, destroying it. The chain continued to retract, pulling Shizune along with it, until a hand grabbed the chains across Shizune's back in midair. Shizune was unconscious now. Naruto ran outside and saw Madara standing on top of a post. Madara. Naruto blurted out. He frowned. Was this really Madara? Something about him was not right. Oh, if it isn't Naruto-kun. How are you? Madara said. Put Shizune-san down. No, I want you to know what I do to nosy people like you. You should have just let us alone. We are doing business here. Do you know why this place is thriving with tourists? That's because we are protecting the village from bandits and criminals. This is a mutual understanding between the Akatsuki and the village. We will leave. Please, just spare Shizune-san. It's too late. You should have regretted going here in the first place. Shizune opened her eyes. Madara. Hi, sweetie. How are you? Put me down, you pervert. I don't want to do that, sweetheart. Ah, I know. What about this? Naruto-kun, let's have a trade. If you give up yourself to us, I'll let her go. How does it sound? Shizune was horrified. No, Naruto, don't listen to him. He will not keep his words. What do you think? Is this woman worth dying for? Madara said. Naruto, listen, Shizune said. Your life is 10 times more important than mine. Please, think carefully. If you die here, Konoha might lose in the war. Forget about me and escape. The damsel in distress has said her speech. What do you think? All right, let her go, Naruto said. Oh, you really are an idiot. You'll give your life to a useless bitch like her. Don't talk that way about Shizune-san. She's very important to me. Now, let her go. If you hurt her in any way, I'll promise you that you'll suffer in my hands. Naruto. Shizune whispered. She didn't know what feeling to entertain first. Joy at Naruto's concern for her or fear at Naruto's impending demise. Her heart was hurting in her chest. Out of place, but she couldn't help it. The element she had been waiting for had just come. How he valued her. Basing it to his action just now, there was no mistaking it that he deemed her very important. Worth dying for in this villain's words. With a jolt it came. Her heart answered back. When did it start? She didn't know or care. Only the truth mattered. She loved him. Madara got intimidated by Naruto's stare. Blah, blah, blah. You have a way with words. Fine. Madara raised his free hand and a chain shot out his sleeve. It wound around Naruto's body. Madara let go of Shizune and she fell to the ground. Now come here and die. Madara yelled. Madara flicked his wrist and the chain retracted, pulling Naruto along with it. Madara snapped his free arm and a kunai sprung into his hand. As Naruto came, he plunged the kunai, aiming at Naruto's throat. When the tip was about to touch Naruto's skin, a bright ball of electricity shot out from Madara's chest which stopped his movements at once. He couldn't help but let go of Naruto. Naruto crashed to the ground. So, you're the fake Madara who has been using our name to plunder for money, an ominous voice said. This voice, Uchiha Sasuke, the imposter said. Die. Sasuke grabbed the imposter's heart and crushed it. He let go of the corpse and looked down at Naruto. I see that you're still a fool who will throw away your life for your friends, Sasuke said. The wind tossed his dark hair. His stare was cold and piercing. The Sharingan made it more awful. Sasuke. Naruto muttered. I can kill you here and now, but it will be just a waste of time. Don't think that you can already go against me at your current level. After saying that, Sasuke disappeared. Sasuke. Wait. Sasuke. It was no use. Shit. Naruto hurriedly broke out from the chain and ran to Shizune. He helped Shizune out of the chain around her. She was crying. Shizune-san. Are you alright? You fool. Why are you so dumb? For goodness sake, you could have been killed. I'm sorry. I was so worried about you. I thought that I'll never see you again. I'm sorry. Damn it. Loving an idiot like you is giving me a hard time. Naruto was taken aback. Huh. Shizune stood up and wiped her tears. Naruto stood behind her. Shizune-san, what did you say? Naruto asked. Shizune abruptly turned around and planted a loud kiss on his lips. Naruto blinked at that. That's for saving me. Now, let's go home. I have enough of this foolishness. As Naruto composed himself, he felt a murderous intent aimed at him. He looked around and saw Momoko glaring on top of the fence. You asshole. You unfaithful son of a bitch. I followed you here all the way from Konoha and this is what you will show me. I'm gonna kill you. Hey, wait, what unfaithful? You are just misunderstanding things. Too late. I just saw you kiss Shizune-san. Prepare yourself, you pervert. Wait, that's a part of our cover. Help me, Shizune-san. You're not going to get away from me. Naruto ran away with all his might, shouting for help to anyone who might hear. Tsunade was wide-eyed after hearing the story. He thought that I was still acting. Then, Shizune said, looking into the distance. I took advantage of that and kept my feelings from him. So, when he asked me out, I shunned his advance. Now, I regret it. I should have gone with him. He was honestly infatuated with me. I could see it in his eyes. I didn't have the vaguest idea that Naruto had a crush on you. Surprise, surprise. And she giggled. What do you think? Could it have worked between us? He made you fall in love with him. If you gave him a chance, then, I think it could have. Shizune began to cry. He was so gentle and sensitive and caring. He was like a dream. I was so touched when he threw away his life to save mine. Nobody has ever done it for me. Nobody. Everyone will miss him so much. Now, Shizune was crying even louder. I loved him, master. I loved him very much. Tsunade knew that no words would quench the sadness of her apprentice. All she could do was listen to Shizune as she sang the haunting melody of grief. She closed her eyes and endured. Early that morning of the third day, other countries' representatives arrived at Konoha. It was Naruto's burial day. The preparations had been finished. Tsunade had approved of the casket made of ebony, where Naruto's body would be laid in, to be carried around the village so that every villager could see him off to his final destination. The sky was remarkably clear, without a hint of clouds, a sailor's sky. It was on earth that the clouds were around, only that they were in the form only felt, not seen. Every villager wore black. No stores were open. No classes in schools. The day was special. The villagers were surprised to see the Yukikage, clad in white robe with the character for snow on her hat painted in blue, her eyes a pretty pair of gray, skin as white as the element she represented, manners as soft as a feather. She walked with an entourage of 50 high-class shinobis. There was also the Tetsukage, leader of the Hagakure, the hidden village of blades, wearing his most expensive black robe sewn with intricate spade patterns around the hems, the character for iron, painted in white on his black hat, a man in his 60s possessing a frightening pair of black eyeballs with irises of metal gray, a forged steel mask covering his face in the typical assassin-type design. He ambled with an entourage of 20 samurais and 15 special ops class shinobis. These two leaders were the last to arrive. The Kazekage, Gaara, had been in the village since the other day, talking with Naruto in the clear glass when no one could see, whispering promises and admiration to his personal hero that in a sudden had left the living realm. The Mizukage had arrived 2 hours ago. She was a beautiful woman in her 30s, a prodigy, beauty and brains. Her blue robe contrasted the grief on her face. Naruto had brought her back on her tracks when she had doubted her effectiveness as Mizukage. Naruto had accepted her eccentric nature of being a maniac for attention, saying to her, "As long as you make yourself shine in ways not offensive to children, your attitude of being greedy for attention will never ruin your reputation. Anyway, it's important to a Mizukage to be popular. I, too, am hungry for attention, but I'm not good as you in getting it. Sometimes I even piss off people because of that. But I also want men to pay attention to me," she had replied. Naruto laughed at her. "They are always paying attention, but you know us men. Most of us just keep it secret. Do you find me attractive, Naruto?" Naruto scratched at his cheek for an itch only existent when he was shy. He looked away. You could say that." She suddenly kissed him on the cheek, stood up, and faced Naruto with regal authority. "Now, Shinobi of Konoha, have a safe trip home. Please, visit me sometime, okay? I really enjoyed our conversations." She hadn't expected that it would be the last conversation she would ever make with the man she owed her resolve from. She had cried inside her room provided by Tsunade after seeing him in the cold glass. The Raikage had the smallest entourage. The large old man with a white goatee and spear-shaped mustache had only his brother Killer Bee and 4 other shinobis with him. Not that it would make a difference in their security. He and his brother were strong enough to take care of everything. Besides, being in Konoha, they knew that they were safe, not to mention the truce which had already taken effect. Last night, Killer Bee had stood for 20 minutes in front of Naruto, just staring at him. When he was about to leave, he put his right hand over the glass directly above Naruto's face. He left one of his 7 swords beside the glass encasement and went back to his room. For him, Naruto had been a brother, a disciple, and a friend. Naruto was the only other Jinchuriki container that was able to control the massive evil chakra in him. In that aspect, they had had a strong bond. He would treasure that bond forever. One of the 3 leaders that had cried after seeing Naruto, the Mizukage and the Kazekage were the other ones, was the Tsuchikage, the short old man with a severe disposition. The moment he arrived, limping to the encasement, supported by 2 of his personal nurses, his big nose crinkled and clear snot came out. Then, without caring for reputation or shame, he sobbed. "Among the children I spent a little time in my life, the boy with the head of the sun and eyes of the sky was the only one who so courageously revived the person I was born as. I had forgotten who I was and led a life of severity and perfection. He came and reacquainted me to the child I had been once, the clumsy, no good child who only thought of making his dream come true, he had told Tsunade. I consider him my grandson. I love him and will miss him. I thank Konoha for giving me the chance to share a part of my life with an amazing boy. Tsunade knelt down and embraced him, telling him that she understood. The ceremony started at 9 of the clock. There had been a small dispute over the selection of the people who would carry the casket. In the end, Tsunade had given Sakura, as Naruto's closest friend, the authority to select. She had selected Shikamaru of the Nara clan, Neji of the Hyuga clan, Kiba of the Inuzuka clan, Sai, a former Root Anbu and a friend, Yumino Iruka, Naruto's first trusted teacher, Rock Lee, a rival, Yamato, the substitute handler of Team Kakashi, and lastly Kakashi, who had watched over Naruto as a teacher and as a father. A young priestess led the procession. She carried Naruto's forehead protector on a pillow. Two ANBUs held up the Konohagakure's flag with the swirling leaf emblem and the flag of the Land of Fire behind her. Then, it was Naruto's casket. The 7 cages were in 2 neat lines behind his casket. After them were Naruto's loving friends and the villagers. The first step was signaled by a loud beat from the drums, and then music filled the quiet air. It was the same music used in the procession for Chiyo, an elder of Sunagaku. The sad melody started with slow notes that aimed for the sadness, but also gave the feeling of longing, and a wish for the departing to have a safe journey. Smooth as water with seamless transitions, the notes reached the ears of every people present in the event. Like a hand it gripped the heart, like a blade it cut the soul, and like the sky it lit the mind, stirred memories, pulling them out one by one from the subconscious. With the song in the air, the emotions couldn't be contained. Faces gleamed with tears and breaths rang with quiet whimpers of grief. Naruto's casket was placed at the center of the court in front of the Phoenix Temple just below the sculpted faces of the Hokages in the mountain. The 12 great monks of Konoha, old and sagely in their appearance, clad in their red robes with large sandalwood beads around their necks, formed a large C in front of the casket and began to pray. The serene eyes of the people below the platform watched. The hums from each of the monks blending in a baritone that was good to hear were discarded by ears. They were thinking of Naruto. What the monks were doing was for them just a formality. The most important was the impending departure of Naruto's body into the darkness of the earth. Somehow they had identical urges to flee so that they would be spared from the pain of watching helplessly as their hero's body was being lowered into the ground. However, they knew that they wouldn't flee, be there that urge or not. Until the last, they would be with Naruto. At least, wherever he was, he would think that they loved him as he had loved them. At least, they could do what they could not when he was still alive. This was their last chance to show their appreciation. They would give him what he had always wanted, to be acknowledged by the whole village. The burial was a solemn event. The next morning, Sakura woke up with tears in her eyes. She had dreamed of Naruto. Her mother had let her sleep without demanding anything from her like eat or take a bath. She thought her love for her mother had increased because of that. She rotated her head towards her lamp table and reached out for the framed picture of Team Kakashi. Now, she was all alone. Sasuke had been the first to disappear from her life. Now, it was Naruto. She wondered how she could endure another morning with only herself as companion. Thinking about it, she had relied on Naruto too much that she hadn't thought of what she would do when the time came that she had to fend for herself. She missed him, already. Usually, she would be at the window early in the morning, waiting for Naruto who regularly jogged around the village. Every morning as he passed by her house, he would shout, "If you sleep too much, you'll get fat." Not knowing that she secretly waited for him to pass by. It had been a routine. And now, that sweet, little ritual would never happen again. She got out of bed and washed her face. In the kitchen, she arrived on her mother unconsciously stirring her coffee, looking out of the window. She found it strange to see her mother like that. "Mom, Mrs. Haruno looked at her, trying to give a small smile. Hi, honey. Good morning. You could have said that more energetically. She sat beside her mother. How are you? Sakura put her hand over her mother's. Mom, I'm okay. Honest. I'm a little bit sad, but I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Mom nodded. If you say so. What do you want to eat? She finally realized that her mother hadn't made breakfast yet, unlike the usual. Anything, I guess. A hot chocolate for starters. Okay. I'll make something for you. Mrs. Haruno stood up. She went to make Sakura a cup of hot chocolate. Once finished, she put the frying pan on the stove and fried some bacon and eggs. Sakura sipped her chocolate quietly, watching the clouds roll by outside. Mrs. Haruno set the plate with the eggs and bacon on the table. I'll cook some rice. Could you wait a little while? As her mother went to wash the rice cooker, Sakura said, It's all right, Mom. I'll settle for bread. We have some, right? I think there are leftovers from last night. But, is it really all right? It's fine. Mrs. Haruno heated the bread in the oven and brought it to the table. Both of them began to eat. Sakura stood up after she had finished 2 breads. I should be going now, Mom. It's still too early. I will drop by Naruto's grave before going to the hospital. I see. Take care, then. Thanks, Mom. I love you. After taking a bath, Sakura was on her way. Naruto's grave was at the center of a patch of land in front of the Phoenix Temple. The grave was marked by a small obelisk erected at the center, surrounded on the ground by white blocks of sediment arranged in a circular pattern. The patch of land was fenced with wrought iron coated with melted brass, and now the sun glinted on the metal fence, making it appear like gold. Sakura was surprised to see Gaara standing in front of the obelisk. Temari and Kankuro stood at the fence, obviously trying to ignore what Gaara was doing. Gaara noticed her presence. Sakura-san, good morning to you. Hi. I thought you already left yesterday. No, I stayed for another day. It will be a long time before I can visit him again. Gaara produced 3 sticks of incense, lit them up, and planted them in the jar of sand where few consumed sticks of incense were. This is my last chance to say my thanks to him. This is a little surprising. Gaara faced her. Do you still have a grudge against me? Sakura blushed under his stare. It was sincere in its intensity. What do you mean? I did attack Konoha once. Haven't you forgotten it, yet? No, of course, not. Then why is it surprising for you to see me here? It's just that I've never known that you value Naruto this much. Ah, yes. I'm sorry. I am what I am now because of him. I owe him a lot, Sakura-san. He was my savior. He cast him a meaningful glance. I take it that you were his girlfriend. It was more of a question. Sakura's face reddened. No, I was only his friend. You sound like Temari when confronted with the same question. Temari threw a rock at him, but his sand floated from his gourd and caught it in midair. Stop it before I drag you out of here, you stupid brother. Temari said. Off Sakura's confused look, Gaara said, I see that you can't believe my older sister can treat me like this, now. As I said, Sakura-san, I'm not the same killer I was. I'm now the leader of Sunagaku. I found it fun to tease people around me every now and then. And because it will be a very long time until I am again able to talk with you, I will tell you a little secret. Temari was in love with Naruto and she had cried over him many times. Gaara. Sakura giggled. Gaara offered her a small smile. I hope that we can be friends, Sakura-san. I apologize for my cold attitude towards you and the others in the past. He offered his hand. Sakura took it. Of course, we can. I promise to visit if I have time. I'll not look forward to that. Come, but never promise. You're always welcome anytime. Bring some of your friends and I'll be sure to throw a huge welcoming party. All right. Then, I'll not promise, but I'll count on the party. Goodbye, Sakura-san. Gaara went to his siblings. Temari pinched his cheek and he uncharacteristically apologized. He gave Sakura a nod before carrying on. That small conversation with Gaara lightened the burden in her chest. Naruto had accomplished one of his dreams, having faithful friends. Maybe, out there, wherever he was seeing this. She was sure he was happy. Maybe, now, she could accept that no matter what she did, he would never come back. Even if it was painful, she would try. Momoko had been waiting for Tsunade ever since the crack of dawn. She was outside the closed office, crossed arms, and enduring the impatience that so itched her dark skin. The hallway was quiet. Nobody was strolling to and fro, unlike in usual weekdays. Outside, she could see the leaves being ruffled by the wind and the sky was clear. Man, when will someone show up? She muttered, staring with resentment at the stairway leading to the 4th floor. She tried to imagine seeing someone, anyone, coming up and greeting her, and then she sighed. What she was trying to do was childish. They're so late. A few seconds after, Shizune showed up, her head bobbing as she ascended the stair. Momoko-chan, she said as she approached her. Shizune-san, have you been waiting for Master Tsunade? Yes. Where is she? The question should be if she would show up. She told me that she would not come today. I'm sorry. She wanted to be alone to think through things. What is it that you want from her? Momoko was disappointed. It's nothing, really. I'll just come back tomorrow, then. It's not. Nothing, right? You would not wait like this, if it was. I will tell Master Tsunade if it's really important. Momoko stared at Shizune for a time. She was debating with herself. I'm not sure if you will believe me. Then you are also not sure if I won't believe. Come on, tell me. My instincts have been bothering me ever since last night. I can't tell it, after all. You're intriguing me, Momoko-chan. My heart is starting to beat fast in my chest. Is it something like you just discovered the lost scroll, or Mimyun's treasure? No, of course not. It's not like that at all. I can't explain it. It just occurred to me. I don't know how to call it. A hunch, maybe. Premonition. I don't know. But, you know about my clan, right? The general knowledge about our animal instincts. It's that. You are scaring me, Momoko. Can't you just tell me what it is? I feel that Naruto is still alive. Shizune frowned. That's not a good joke to start the day, Momoko. Don't go crazy on me this early in the morning. We just held Naruto's burial yesterday. I knew you would not believe me. It's too far-fetched. But, Shizune-san, I always feel like this whenever there is an incoming storm or an earthquake, a calamity, a dispute, danger. This is the same feeling I get when something terrible is about to happen to me. Shizune-san, right now, I have that same feeling or whatever it is that you might call it. It itches inside of me. I feel that Naruto is still alive. But, you saw him, didn't you? I saw him, too, and I couldn't have mistaken him for someone else. Momoko, Naruto is dead. Aren't you just denying that? No, I will not deny that it was him. But still, I know you're still upset with what happened. It's hard for everyone to accept that he is dead, but you should try your best to move on. Momoko, he wouldn't like it if you kept on being like this. Let him go, okay? Momoko nodded. I'll try. Don't tell this to Master Tsunade. Naruto was like a son to her.